Good evening and thanks for joining us. There's a new warning from the Islamist militants who call themselves Islamic State, and part of it is directed at Canadians. The world already knows the barbaric acts the group has carried out in Iraq and Syria. Now its spokesman is urging Muslims everywhere to kill so-called unbelievers anywhere they find them, including right here in Canada. This is a whole new level of threat, and as Eric Sorensen reports, it requires a whole new strategy.
A message to Canada.
For this Canadian ISIS fighter, who was later killed, revoking his passport might not have mattered. But Ottawa is now invalidating an undisclosed number of passports to prevent would-be militants from leaving and to keep them out if they do leave. The government calling on the opposition to back the measure.
Why don't they support our efforts to take Canadian passports away from terrorists who are on the ground in that part of the world?
It's believed 30 Canadians are active with extremist groups in Syria and dozens more elsewhere. In Australia, where 15 suspects were arrested last week, they're also designating some countries as no-go zones for Australians. Both are countries specifically mentioned by ISIS in this latest audio threat. If you can kill a disbelieving American or European, especially the spiteful and filthy French, it says, or an Australian or a Canadian or any other disbeliever, kill him in any manner or way.
Our security agencies have been aware of these threats. They track these threats very closely. They work very closely with our allies on identifying threats, both organizations and individuals.
I think now we are all at risk.
This Canadian expert says ISIS is targeting any one of us.
They are capable to attack. And not only that, the target that they are selecting now is everybody.
Canada, with Special Forces advisors in Iraq, is among some 50 countries now supporting action against ISIS. The French have joined the Americans in airstrikes against ISIS in Iraq, but so far not in Syria. It's one of the most dangerous groups the U.S. Secretary of State says he's ever seen.
They are avowed genocidists. Unlike al-Qaeda, they've conquered major territory. They have access to assets that al-Qaeda never had. They have access to funding that al-Qaeda never had.
Canada has so far avoided a direct terrorist attack, but experts, senior officials, everybody agrees the ISIS threat has to be taken seriously. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.